Can we do it one more time? Could I have everyone find a seat, please? We'll get started here in just a minute. It's like being at a bar. Yeah. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's candidate forum for the August 2nd primary. I'm Dr. Stephen Strom. I serve as the Vice President for Academic Affairs here at North Central Michigan College. I'm pinch hitting for Dr. Finley tonight. He's at home sick, fighting an upper respiratory infection. So out of caution, he stayed home tonight. So I'm here maybe pinch hitting or in the bullpen, however you want to look at it. So North Central was founded in 1958, and we're proudly celebrating 64 years of serving residents of Emmet County and learners from across the tip of the mitt and beyond. We provide exceptional, accessible, and relevant higher education for all. Exceptional, accessible, and relevant begin with the letters E-A-R, and we like to say that we try hard to listen to everyone that we serve. Our aim is to prepare students of all ages for the challenges of a dynamic, digital, diverse, and increasingly interconnected world. This education yields benefits in talent development for our area employers, and it ultimately contributes to the economic health of our region. Our college team, working with community members, local businesses, and elected officials, among many others, seek to make Northern Michigan the very best place to live, work, learn, and play. And that is what this event tonight is all about. Tonight's candidate forum is an example of strong community partnerships in action with those who serve on the Petoskey Regional Charlevoix Area Chambers of Commerce Governance Relations Committee who are in attendance. Please stand. I know we've got 3 here. I think we have a few others. Thank you. North Central is pleased to continue its longstanding partnership with the committee by serving as host for the host venue for this evening. We look forward to hosting future important conversations around housing, childcare, transportation, workforce talent, and the general election as well. This too is part and parcel of our mission here at North Central. We now move from the informal meet and greet portion of this event to the candidate forum for those seeking to represent the state's 107th House District and the state's 37th Senate District. I extend a special thanks to Sarah Van Horn from the Charlevoix Chamber and Nikki Devitt from the Petoskey Chamber. These two community leaders will introduce the candidates and explain the format. North Central's outstanding political science professor, Dr. Scott Lador, a member of the Government Relations Committee, will be moderating tonight's event. I am pleased to share that tonight's event will be live streamed for the first time in its history so that we might reach an even larger audience of individuals unable to participate in person. We extend thanks to the North Central IT team who is here making sure that this happens. Finally, I would like to thank the Iron Horse Café staff and the fiscal plant crew here at the college for their good work in making sure this event actually happens. Please forgive me if I've missed anyone. Without further ado, I turn the microphone over to Sarah and Nikki to introduce the people who will be participating.
All right, let's have a round of applause for North Central. So hello and welcome, and thank you again all for attending on behalf of the Petoskey Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Charlevoix Area Chamber of Commerce. We're going to start by giving a quick introduction of the forum and format, and then we will kick it right off. So as mentioned, our Chamber's Government Relations Committee looks forward to hosting this event every election cycle to give our residents and our business owners a chance to hear directly from the candidates on some of the issues that are facing our area. The questions were vetted by the committee and will be moderated by our committee member, Scott Lador, professor of political science here at North Central Michigan College. We're going to start with the 107th District State House of Representatives seat. So if I can invite up Jody Decker, Bob Carr, Parker Fairbairn, Neil Frisky, David Lofbaum, and Jonathan Scheel, if you want to come start finding your way up here, and I'll pass the mic over to Nikki once you're seated to explain format.
Make sure we get everybody up here. Thank you very much, candidates. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Dr. Strom. For our audience members, there is no question time from the audience. We ask you to be respectful of the candidates' time is because they are limited on time. And as Dr. Strom indicated, this event is being live streamed, so if you wish to watch it after, if you need to leave for any reason or step out, you can find that at Petoskey Chamber's website. So we'll make sure that link is live for you after the fact as well. Candidates, good evening. You will be asked questions by our moderator in a rotating order so that each of you has an equal opportunity to be the first to answer. You will each have 90 seconds to answer the question. Sarah, who is sitting right in front of you, will hold up time cards indicating when we are at 30 seconds, 10 seconds left, and we will promptly move along when your time is up. We would like to get everybody home before too late. This is a forum, may I remind you all, not a debate. So each candidate will have the same allotted time to answer the same questions without open discourse. Please be respectful of each candidate's time and use yours only allotted time to answer the questions. Thank you very much for coming this evening. And with that, we will turn it over to our moderator, Scott Ledour.
All right, welcome everyone. We're starting with opening statements, am I right? Very good. So each candidate will have some time to give an opening statement, and we will starting initially on my right with Jonathan Scheel, and we will move down the row, ending with Jody Decker. So everyone can have some time for opening statements. And I believe it's 2 minutes. Okay, very good. All right, so we will kick it off with Jonathan Scheel. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jonathan Scheel, and I'm running to represent you in the State Representative House 107 District. My wife's family is sixth generation Northern Michigander. Her family came to Harbor Springs after the Civil War, after serving in the Civil War. I was a carpenter, contractor, and developed over 200 housing units in Charlevoix and Emmet County. I have a degree in public administration. Between my education and my construction knowledge, I have helped numerous neighborhoods and communities in northern Michigan. I have spent time farming and being my own businessman, raising grains and cleaning and processing other farmers' grains. I represent small businesses. I have, as a 16 years planner and zoning administrator, have worked with numerous small businesses, numerous entrepreneurs in helping them get through ordinances and government regulation so that they can be successful. Without successful businesses in our community, we will not prosper. I believe I'm the best candidate with my knowledge, my experience of both private and public service. I have spent 20 years serving the community, serving on various boards and nonprofits. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move on to David Lofbaum next.
Yeah, hi, I'm David Lofbaum, and a lifelong resident of the 107th District. I've been a conservative all of my life, although we have had some changes. And I'd like to also thank for the people that were involved in getting this together. It's very informative. The college here has been a big part of our life as a family, and personally myself, it added a lot to my life. I actually took a class in psychology, and I thought I was going to find out what made people tick. Well, I found out what made me tick. So anyways, I farm in Pellston, and I farm on both sides of the bridge. And I was a builder, licensed builder, and so we did that, and we also did some development. I was president of a Breezy Shores Corporation, which was a 13-lot units, 13 lots on Crooked Lake, and that was a carryover from my dad. So, and it took a lot of time, a lot of effort, so I have that experience. But I want to thank everybody that made my life a success. And one of those things on that development was Richard Bridstrip out of Harbor Springs. He took the bull by the horns, he got it done, and it worked out fine. So, thank you.
Thank you. To Neil Frisky now.
Good evening, Neil Frisky. I'm running for state rep in the 107th District. I grew up on our family's orchard, Frisky Orchards, spent about 2/3 of my life there. I moved up to Petoskey. I lived up here for 8 years, and then I moved back down to Charlevoix, went back to work at the orchard, and started my current business, Frisky & Sons Property Management. So I'm a Christian, patriot, conservative, America First candidate. I'm finding as I travel around the district that people are really getting fed up with how things are going in our state. I think the state of our economy is what's helping get people's attention. So hopefully that momentum can carry through to August 2nd, and we get a great turnout of patriots to the polls. I've had a negative smear campaign that has started against me, and there's a lot of untruths that are coming from that, but that tells me that I'm over the target. You don't get shot at till you're over the target, and clearly the establishment is very concerned. They can see the momentum that's going, and realize that I'm the front runner in this race, and they're going to do everything they can to squelch that. So we're up for the challenge. I think that, again, people are really fed up with how things are going. So I'm encouraged, and I look for your support and your vote on August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Carr.
Yeah, Bob Carr here. Karen is in the back. You've probably seen her. Funny thing happened when I went to Washington, D.C. to get a job with the president. I got homesick that day. And the first day I was there, I met this girl sitting on the lawn drawing a picture of a tree. And so I ended up working for the president on Capitol Hill and went back to check my roots. And the lighthouse was being talked about at Mackinac Island being torn down. I threw a fit. We ended up going up there. And I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce because I became the director of the Mackinac Island Chamber of Commerce. And so I've been very excited about this forum for quite a while. Turns out my sister and I grew up in foster homes, but my sister was born in Petoskey. And I never had this on my radar until I saw the new map. And it's the 4 counties that I've lived in for the last 45 years, and I've done projects, economic development, and historic projects, and with lots of stories. As you know, I'm a storyteller in all 4 counties. And in fact, today I was working with a county commissioner in Sault Ste. Marie because I discovered this 1898 railroad palace called the Sault Ste. Marie, and it's time to return it back to Sault Ste. Marie, and that's what I do. But we're running, and I don't believe in negative campaigning. I guess I'm known for that, so I haven't heard any scuttlebutt about these other candidates. But negative only brings people to the other people's defense, so no negative campaigning should happen. Well, I love these counties, and every time I look at our card, you saw the card. Well, I developed film here in the winter times for many years. I developed a 18-page calendar for the Experimental Craft Association that was done at Mitchell Graphics and so on. I just want to say this. If you choose me, I love the media. I want to talk about the development in this town and every other town, and Carrie and I would be very grateful.
Thank you. Parker Fairbairn.
Hi, everybody. I'm Parker Fairbairn, and I'm running to be your next state representative here in the 107th District. I believe we have the most unique district in all of Michigan for the simple reason that we bridge the 2 peninsulas together. I think we need to do whatever we can to bolster our economy up here. Right now, we have a 3-4 month economy, and I'd like to see that move more towards a 12-month. To do that, we need to attract new talent up here. And housing is a big issue for us, so we need to start attracting young people, working class people up here to northern Michigan, because right now it's not sustainable. A little bit about the Fairbairn family. We've been here for 5 generations in northern Michigan on both sides of my family. We've owned a number of successful small businesses. If you know in Alanson, W.W. Fairbairn, that's my family, and we've had that for 125 years and are so proud of it for the good business that we do. I'm running on trying to get and engage the youth. I think whether you're Republican or Democrat, you need to get the next generation active. And that's something I'm so passionate about. We need to get more young people active or our country's going to fall apart. So I look forward to representing you when I become your next state representative. I'm so passionate about this place, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make life better for you by helping reduce this attack on our inflation, and just this attack by both sides. We get so far left and so far right. We really need to do whatever we can to come together, unify, and make America help make America great again. Thanks.
Thank you. Jody Decker, then.
Hi, I'm Jody Decker, and I'm the lone Democrat running here. I live in Sault Ste. Marie, so glad you were there. And I currently am a social worker. I work for UP Kids, and I do family preservation. And I've been a foster parent in the past. I was a foster parent for 7 years, and so foster care reform is my main goal here. I'm an adoptive parent as well, and those are some of the reasons. Also, my education is criminal justice, so prison reform is another thing I'm looking at. Environmental issues. I've not really been a big activist, but I've always done what I could. At the time, I could do it, So I've always been a single mom. Most of my life, I've been a single mom. In fact, my granddaughter's sitting over here, and she's part of the reason why I'm wearing this garb. I'm afraid my granddaughter's going to grow up with less rights than what I grew up with at this point. And I don't want to see that happen. Because once one falls, then it's going to just keep going. And I think we do need more housing in this area, this whole entire state, really. But our district is really bad. In fact, I work doing family preservation, so I am helping kids go home from foster care or stopping them from going into foster care. And I'm constantly looking for housing and mental health, and I'm rushing to get them on a waiting list because there's not enough people to do it. So that's what I'm looking to do, is to bring more resources to the area.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you for everyone's opening statements. We'll now start with some questions, and what we'll start with is David Lofbaum, and then we will go down the row through Neil Frisky to Jody Decker, and then end at Jonathan Scheel for the first question. All right, and the first question is this. So over the past decade, our K-12 school enrollments in our area have dramatically declined. What initiatives would you support to help get families here and keep them here? And if a candidate ever needs a question repeated, please let me know. The first question first to David Lofbaum.
Well, I think that what will bring the people here is the natural resources we have and the beauty of the area. And if the schools are in line, they will be glad to go to the school. I think right now we have kind of a war going at the schools. Then that is that they want to well, it's a long story, but when you take away the parents' ability to run the school and you hand it to the federal government or state government, I'd say that's the first thing you need to diminish, is the influence they have, and let the parents run the school again.
All right, thank you. Neil Frisky.
Well, there's two problems there. I think the enrollment in the public school is faltering because of the quality of education. I think we have a lot of good teachers, but unfortunately, they don't have the tools that they need to effectively teach our kids. And as far as bringing, there's probably going to be questions that are going to tie into this. We've got to get the government out of the way to attract businesses back to the area, and that's what it's going to take to get people back in the area. So we've got to reduce the size of government, reduce taxation, make it lucrative for businesses to want to come here and invest money and start businesses, and then the education, the numbers for enrollment, I think, would take care of themselves.
Thank you. Bob Carr.
Well, what a question for the first question. I wrote an educational Facebook today because I ran into the assistant superintendent of schools up here at the post office, and we had a chat. My wife is a school teacher. She's a master's in reading and in art. And in 2019-20, we taught in 55, she taught in 55 schools in Michigan, every kind there is, charter, parochial, Montessori, public, high school, all the way down to the little kids. But we got into discussion about the substitute teachers because parents think that their teachers, when they leave to go and do something, they're being taught by teachers. But because of what things are now, substitute teachers now, not necessarily teachers. And so I posted a picture of McDonald's with $21. Substitute teachers get paid about $12 an hour. So that's about that's a $9 or $10 difference. And so that's one of the things we need to make a change of. But I want to tell you something. I hear people bad-mouthing education and the schools and all those kind of things. I'm not sure, but what I wrote at the end of my Facebook was, candidates, when you get elected, we're going to have to work on this. You always have to work on the education. And anyway, I've been a good student of Mrs. Carr.
Thank you. Parker Fairbairn.
Well, I believe the part of the formula that's missing in our schools is competition. I truly believe in the free market system, and I believe more competition in our schools is good. I've been endorsed by the Great Lakes Education Project, and they are a huge proponent of school choice. I'd like to see the dollar follow the student, and this would give opportunity for students who might be in a public school now to go to a private school that teaches Christian education. So I'm all for the idea of introducing competition into our schools and developing ways to better make our schools more formidable. That addition of competition increases quality, it increases accountability, and I think these are important. They're important in business, so they should be important in our schools. So that's where I stand on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Decker, then.
Can you repeat the original question?
I'd be happy to. Yep, no problem. Over the past decade, our K-12 school enrollments have dramatically declined. What initiatives would you support to help get families here and keep them here?
I would support paying our teachers more, incentivizing more teachers. Our kids have fallen way behind because of this COVID shutdown, and I know they're starting a My Tutoring program with the state now, but we need to up that ante because our kids are our future, and they need to know math and reading, and they need to be on top of that. And so paying our teachers more is number one. And I just think I don't agree with I agree the money should follow where the student is, but I don't agree with the voucher program that I've heard about. I've not really learned a whole lot about it, but what I have heard about it would be that kids would go to private school, and that would pull more money out of our public schools, and that would hurt all of our kids.
Thank you. Jonathan Shield to end this question.
What will attract students? A year-round economy. So we have a economy that's 3 months long, and that does not attract families. That cannot support families. I have 5 children. 4 of them have moved away because this economy will not support them. I have a traveling nurse. I have 2 adult children that joined the Army and Navy in order to find somewhere that they could support themselves and have a future. We need desperately to enlarge our economy year-round, attract businesses. But guess what right now, folks? Housing is the problem. And we need desperately housing at all levels. We need to have short-term solutions for that. We need to have longer-term solutions. The short one is to track the federal and state dollars that have left this area over the last 7-8 years, change those regulations so we get that money back. Longer term, we need to get our students out of high school into the trades. Right now, trades are making more money than your college graduates. Those are some of the quick, simple answers. I don't have enough time, but there's a lot more to that, obviously.
Thank you. All right, so this next question will start with Neil Frisky and move on down the line. How do we better support small businesses as they recover from the economic shocks of the pandemic and prepare them for continued economic uncertainty?
Well, I think that, again, we've got to get government out of the way and reduce the tax burden. I would support eliminating the personal income tax as well as the state business income tax, and free up some money for these businesses to invest and new businesses start up. We lost a lot of businesses during the COVID time. The governor chose to shut a lot of them down, and so many of them just never opened back up. So we've got to get a better business climate in the state, and we've got to get government out of the way. We've got to reduce the size of government, reduce the spending, and relieve the tax burden so that people have more money to spend on investing in their businesses.
Thank you. Bob Carr.
Well, most of you got my refrigerator card. On the back it says taking care of each community. And that's sort of my specialty. I ended up in Petoskey. Well, we're working the Mackinac Island, staying all winter, to get involved in trying to keep the railroad track up to Petoskey. It was going to be severed in Mansalona. Think of what that would do, and think what it's done for a lot of towns that lost their railroads, for example. Now they want to get businesses that will come in. Well, businesses now discovered they need rail, of all times, to discover that when the fuel is so expensive for trucking, right? Small business needs to understand that the other small business is part of their team. And so small businesses need to, in the way their businesses look, just the way their businesses look, their buildings need to be complementary to what's around them. They need to understand that, let's talk about locals coming and seeing us, and when we're done talking about that, let's talk about the locals coming and seeing us, and when we're done with that, let's talk about the locals coming and seeing us. I'm a Chamber of Commerce guy, and self-promotion, team promotion is very important, and that helps the small business, and I think that's what we have to do up here.
Thank you. Parker Fairbairn.
Well, I've been endorsed by the Small Business Association of Michigan and the Michigan Chamber of Commerce because they trust me to do what's best for small business up here in northern Michigan. We need to get out of the way of the small business owner. Get these taxes and burdensome regulations out of the way so businesses can do what businesses do, business. And we really need to focus on innovative solutions to help bolster our economy up here. We do have a 3-month economy up here. I'd like to see that more towards a 12-month economy. How do we incentivize business up here? Like I said, getting rid of regulations are good. Some regulations can be good, but right now we're burdened with overbearance by the government. And if we can get the government's fingers out of the business, letting the business person do what they do, I think that's beneficial for our economy up here and will help fortify us against any other threats like COVID-19 or any pandemics. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Decker.
Well, I was actually running a small business when the pandemic hit and we got shut down, and we were grateful for all the benefits we were able to apply for and got some of from the government, and that was helpful. to incentivize business. I think we need to use our natural resources, our the beauty that we have here, and people want to come visit us all the time. We're a very big tourist area, so we need to keep them here. And to keep them here, we need to get housing, obviously, and businesses to come up into our district instead of always going down to the city where all the main travel, the hubs are. And we need to have a hub in our area where train, bus, whatever, trucking hub, just more transportation, availability, the supply chain, the whole supply chain issue.
Thank you. Jonathan Scheel.
Businesses do want to come here. We have people asking all the time. We have issues, though, in this state. We have infrastructure issues. Our infrastructure is not up to date, whether it's our roads, whether it's our electrical grid, our water and sewer systems. We have to be competitive with other states. We can learn from other states. What are the top 10 states doing that are successful in the nation right now? Whether that's innovative ideas or not, I think it's real simple. But our education system, what the others talked about a few minutes ago, we have to have a great education system. We are 21st in the nation of how much we spend per student. We're 38th of what we're actually putting out. That's a wide spread. We're 42nd in the college area. We are lucky to have a fantastic college here that outshines most of those numbers, but the rest of the state is not, and the rest of the district is not. So we have to support our infrastructure, our education systems, and learn what other states are doing. That's who our competition is. Thank you.
Thank you. David Lofbaum.
Yeah, I could echo partner everything that was said here. There is one thing: if you want businesses, if you want anything, then the people that are going to be in business have to enjoy it, or they're just going to give it up. And we've made business so stressful in this state. Can you imagine running a payroll, for example? All the money you got to take out of these people's checks. It's unbelievable, and you're on the hook if you don't do it right. We just had a scandal on the unemployment. These are the kind of things that people just throw up their hands and they shut the door and they say it ain't worth it. And we went through COVID, but there was some tough people come out of COVID, but the government didn't, they just kept doubling down on them. I mean, a lot of them. So it's a climate, and then you have to educate people to be in business, I guess you could say, and to be a variety of things, because let's say if you're in housing, it doesn't matter if you can't find a carpenter, and believe me, it happens. You can't build a house. So you have to have the whole ball of wax when you go at it. And I do believe that people will come here. They do want to be in business, and I think the main thing is do not discourage them, and they'll spread it around, and somebody else will come.
Thank you. This question will start with Bob Carr then. What actions can the state take to assist local communities in mitigating ongoing environmental changes or challenges? So first to Bob Carr.
Well, I'm an environmentalist, so you might as well know that. That's why we have a state house. That's why we have a state senate. Times are changing so fast, and especially up here in these 4 counties. 4 of the 6, I read the other day, 4 of the 6 most beautiful cities, towns in Michigan are in this 107th district. And when you say mitigate, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. You mean that there's too many regulations?
No. What actions can the state take to assist local communities in mitigating ongoing environmental changes or challenges?
Well, we just have to get involved, and I think much of it's about attitude. I mean, we're all environmentalists up here. You need to get people in the State House and the State Senate who have a lot of experience in working just in your area. And I was going to be a forest ranger, and I just never got around to it. Environment is something that I don't know that anybody's against. It's a matter of how to do it. I have always said that the State House, State Senate, and the Congress should every 2 years go back and visit everything that every subject that they've worked on. I think Obamacare has been 10 years without a look-see. And if we do that, things change in every 2 years. And 2 years from now, the environment situation up here is going to be different. We need to look at it as elected officials every 2 years. I am done.
All right, thank you. Parker Fairbairn.
Well, the environment's so crucial up here. It's our big reason. We had a conference with NLEA, and we talked about the blue economy we have up here and what we can do to preserve that and bolster the economy. So I think when I think of environment up here, something that we go to first is Line 5. How to make that more safe. I've met with Enbridge. I talked with them. They're all privately funded and privately maintained, which I think is incredible that businesses as large as that in Michigan can be privately funded and privately maintained. So this tunnel project that's going on right now with Line 5 is such a success, and I can't wait to see it done because it's going to make the travel of our goods, the energy that goes through there, much more safe. The tunnel will be bored 500 feet below ground, 100 feet below the seabed, a big concrete circular tube, and that's going to hold all of the propane and the gas that's going through there. That's so safe. There's no way an anchor's hitting that if it's 100 feet below the seabed. So I'm an avid outdoorsman. I have a great respect for our culture up here, the outdoor culture that we have, and I'm hoping to secure that and make sure it's safe for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Decker.
I am also an avid outdoors woman. I'm from the UP, and we hunt and fish and do all that up there all the time. As far as Line 5, I'm just going to stick with Line 5. I don't think we need Line 5, and it's a Canadian system. We don't get that much oil from Line 5. In fact, I just read an article yesterday that it would only raise our gas a half a cent if it shut down. So I wonder what the damage would be from building that tunnel also to the Great Lakes. Because you're going to have to dig up. You don't know what you're going to dig into. You don't know what problems they're going to have down there. It's the Great Lakes. We're in charge of protecting these lakes. We live here and we should protect them. And the Great Lakes are 20% of the world's freshwater reserve, the planet. And we have to protect that.
Thank you. Jonathan Scheel.
So I believe we have many departments in the state right now that already look at that, mitigate things, come into your communities and take care of that. Problem is, I believe they're really inefficient. They're chasing emergencies. They're chasing it after the fact. Our PSAFs at the airport, whether it's Line 5 and finding out after the fact that the line is getting hit. When it comes to Line 5, tunnel, fine and dandy, but there's hundreds of other river crossings that need to be looked at and analyzed and not just trust Enbridge. So I'm real concerned about the existing departments and how they do that. I think there's dollars available. I think there's departments that do it, but I believe that they need oversight from the legislators to make sure that they're doing their job.
Thank you. David Lofbaum.
Yeah, could you just repeat the question?
Yes. What actions can the state take to assist local communities in mitigating ongoing environmental changes and challenges?
Well, I would say it would start with the elimination of departments that do not do the job. And I've seen so much waste in my lifetime. One little example I can tell you, I would say probably 80,000 feet, and I have a little experience in that because I used to run a sawmill for my dad and we cut wood, cut logs. I would say 80,000 feet of white pine dropped to the forest floor several years ago, and nobody picked it up. And I don't want to pick on the DNR, but they're the one that sticks most in my mind, and it sticks in my craw, because they cannot make any money on what they do. They have one desk job after another, and they're not held accountable. So the bottom line is, if you're going to have a department and you know it changes every time the Democrat gets in or a Republican gets in, they pick the head of the department. And you got to stop that, and you got to hold them accountable. I don't know if you're going to give them a grade system or just eliminate them. If they can't do the job, why not just eliminate them? It saves us all a headache. And the environmental issues are really not as big as what people politically try to make them out to be. And when you look at the people they're financing that also make the field for business on level, it's the same people that are doing the polluting, believe me. And it's not the little guy. It's not Petoskey, Michigan. Okay.
Thank you. Neil Frisky.
Well, obviously, with the area that we live in, we all care about the environment. The Great Lakes are a valuable asset. That's what we are all about. And so certainly everything we do, we have to keep that in mind. I absolutely support the Line 5 project. There's just no doubt that without that, our fuel costs are going to go crazy. I don't know where this 1 cent thing came from, but that's not even close. So we definitely have to get Line 5 in. It will also provide an avenue for other things, not just gas and oil, but they can run other utilities through there. And I also believe that the government agencies that are regulating that right now are not doing a very good job. So either we eliminate some of them or we clean house completely and get people in there that, the whole green deal that is being pushed on us is actually going to take us the wrong direction. So we can't get caught up in that propaganda and those lies because they're not going to fix our problems at all.
All right, the next question goes to Parker Fairbairn first. Business owners and employees rank childcare as one of the top barriers to growth and, in turn, the sustainability of our communities. Through work with the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, our local chambers of commerce have helped draft and support bills proposing various solutions to these issues. In your opinion, what solutions can the state provide to assist with childcare in our region? First to Parker.
Well, there's many solutions you can take, and being the free market candidate, I'd like to see the private sector tackle this a little better than it's doing right now. Now, the state can help incentivize that by, we've got a lot of COVID dollars that haven't been spent. I think somewhere around 40% at the state level and somewhere around that at the federal level too. I think we can start moving towards that. The COVID pandemic really hurt parents, and you have these 2-parent homes or 1-parent homes. One parent has to go and work while one watches the kids, and that's something that we need to start looking more at is this child care. There's different ways of going about it, like I said, but I do think the state can start taking steps, looking at this further, and taking action on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Decker.
We need to incentivize people to go into daycare and child care roles. I know at Lake State we have a big child care center to teach people to go into child care, and there's just not enough child care anywhere, ever. Like I said, I've been a single parent, and I'm going to tell you for real, it's very hard to find daycare for any job. And if you work graveyard shift, forget it. You're done. You got to have somebody living with you, or there's nobody takes kids at night for daycare. So we need to incentivize people to get into daycare, to reopen their daycares. We need to streamline the paperwork that it takes to get into daycare, because if you've ever tried to apply to get paid by the state for anything, it's red tape upon red tape upon red tape. So that needs to be streamlined, because a lot of people would go into child care, but they can't get through the paperwork.
Thank you. Jonathan Scheel.
So I think Jody hit on a couple of points. I think the paperwork and getting into it is absolutely a barrier. And I think that the state can look at the department that's involved in that, and us as potential legislators can look at minimizing that burden. My family, some family members were into daycare pre-COVID, and that's why they got out at that time. It's just very, very difficult, very onerous on a day-to-day basis. The other thing she touched on, and I agree with, is education. I think we can help educate students to go into that and show that it is honorable. It is something that literally science-based and can end up being very good childcare. The other thing I think the state can get into is helping incentivize and promote it with businesses. She talked about Lake State as a college doing it. I think larger businesses can do that. I think businesses can help their employees, and in times like now where employees really it's trying to find them, trying to keep them. I think that would work very well in keeping your employees, helping them with families, getting back into the workforce. And again, I think the state can collaborate with businesses, can collaborate with education, and that would all be helpful.
Thank you. David Lofbaum.
Yeah, I think the basis of the problem, if there actually is one, and some people think there is more spiritual than actually physical, to put these kids where they could be. We didn't have this problem when I was growing up. My mother was sick repeatedly, and we went to my aunt's place. And so we've gotten pretty sophisticated with all the regulation. And I would, again, leave it up to the parents. They can find a suitable place. It doesn't need to be overregulated. It doesn't need to be licensed for a certain amount of kids. I mean, some women can take care of 40 kids. Other people can't take care of one. So, cut the regulation, cut the foolishness, let the parents decide what's best for them. And I think it'll work out again. It has in the past.
Neil Frisky.
Well, the child care issue is very real. And I think that, again, during COVID, so many places, they were forced to shut down. And because it was a struggle to start with, they didn't have a whole lot of incentive to open back up. So certainly there has to be some rules and some regulations. I don't think it can just run rampant, but probably could be reduced a lot to help incentivize people to start daycare centers up again. I know a couple people in my area that had very nice businesses. I mean, it can be a lucrative business if it's done right. So I think it kind of fits into the concept of trying to get more people involved in the trades, and this kind of ties in with that. We've got to encourage people to if you have a home that's big enough that you could do some changes and get some people in there and supplement your income. Times have changed. So many homes now, both parents are working, so there is a huge need for childcare. And I think that if we get the government out of the way, that can take care of itself.
Thank you. Bob Carr.
My wife, as I say, was a teacher, and she's worked with that age group. I think a lot of it is about now, after the uncharted time of COVID, and it truly was an uncharted time. There's a debate about child care. Is it good? Is it isn't good? Well, maybe 50 years ago, aunt could take care of somebody, but not today. I think we need to talk about child care as being an honorable profession. I was looking at pictures the other day. I put 80 pictures of Karen on Facebook because it was her birthday 2 days ago, and came across a bunch of these foster kids that I was with when we were this big, And I realized, you got moms and dads. Most of you have moms and dads. I had many moms and dads. But child care and that age of kids gives these kids a great social life at a very young age outside of their family. And I think that's very, very important. And of course, the parents, you know, both are working up here, need the child care. But I think child care is a good thing. So how are you going to make it roll? Well, first of all, tell child care people who are interested, you know, it's a great profession. We'll be proud of you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question starts with Jody Decker then. Jody, what did the 2020 election teach you about how elections are administered in the state of Michigan?
In many ways, they're administered. Are you talking about the ways to vote? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just what lessons did you take from that election vis-a-vis kind of voting and election administration?
We had the highest turnout ever in the country for every party, so I think mail-in voting was very popular, and I think it got a lot more people to vote, and it opened early voting earlier, and it just brought out more people.
All right. Thank you. Jonathan, then.
Yep. So I think the biggest thing that lesson learned is we have to have trust in our election system. And I have talked to many clerks during this campaign, and they are under incredible pressure. They are under so much pressure, rules changing literally the day of the election. They have volunteer staff or mainly volunteer staff, and we at the state have to support them. We have to help give them education dollars for their for their help. We have to make sure they have everything that they need. That they are supposed to do two jobs, which I think are very contradictory. They are supposed to oversee the election on election day, and at the same time, they're supposed to register new people coming in. And there's a contradiction there. So we're asking them to do things that are very, very difficult. I think that I think we still need a signature like we do. I think we need a photo ID. I think that unsolicited ballots going out are a problem. I am totally okay, and I think it is beneficial for absentee ballots for the people who need them. We don't want to restrict voting. But unsolicited ballots, I think, were one of the problems of that last election. So I think that changing a few rules, I don't think there has to be mass changes, but taking care of our clerks and no absentee ballots, or excuse me, no unsolicited absentee ballots are the two keys. Thank you. David Lofbaum.
Yeah, what I witnessed is that there's a lot of rumors going around that this person won, that person won. But there's nobody willing to step up and say, well, we're going to research it, we're going to find out. So it seems to be a certain amount of confusion about the whole process. Dead people are still voting, and it just goes on. And there's just too many witnesses out there that say that and they're not saying that Trump won or this guy won. They're saying there was strong tampering with it. And unfortunately, if I get to the legislature, that will come to an end, because we'll try to coalesce, I guess you could say, a group of the willing, and we will put an end to this nonsense. The machines will have to be checked out. The voter files are going to have to be made right. And the last thing I'd like to say, the debacles with the governors running, we don't know whether that was corruption or whether it was just lack of foresight. So there's a lot of issues out there that got to be fixed, or nobody's even going to go vote after a while.
Thank you. Neil Frisky.
Well, the 2020 election opened all of our eyes to the tremendous amount of corruption that happened in that process. There's tons of evidence out there all over the place.
He has 90 seconds to talk. Please let him talk.
And so lost my train of thought. There's lots of evidence out there to show how the voter files were manipulated. There were tens of thousands of names that were put into there, and then after the election they were taken back out. And we have got to get our elections back. We've got to get the integrity back because people are not going to vote. I mean, I hear that a lot. People, I don't know. I'm thinking about, I don't know if my vote's going to count. And every vote does count. There's elections won and lost by one vote all the time. And so your vote does matter. And we have to secure the confidence back into our election system. Photo ID, I think we need to do away with the same-day registration and return to the system we had back, 8, 10, 12 years ago. I'm not opposed to absentee ballots if you have a definite situation or need, but this massive just mail ballots out to everybody by the droves, that just is opening the door for corruption. So we've got to clean that up.
Thank you. Bob Carr.
Hey, it's time for reality politics. By the way, the COVID was an uncharted time, and they sent all these ballots out. Well, they've dropped that. They're not going to do that this year in 2022, so it's not an issue. I know many people here were disappointed about the election, but I want to tell you, do the math. In 2016, I was at the Republican headquarters, and we did the math. And I was the first to say Trump's going to win Michigan. Well, how do you know? I know where the votes are. I know how the Dems vote. I know how the Republicans vote, how the independents have been voting over the last 20 years. So Karen was driving. John James was leading this last time at 130,000 votes. And I forgot what Trump has. And John James sent out a tweet that he had won. And then I look at where the votes were still outstanding, which, of course, Detroit gets the big blame, right? And I said, James is going to lose and Trump's going to lose. And they lost. Now, they did a couple things. They went to Grand Rapids the night before the election because that worked 4 years ago when they should have been in Detroit, talking the night before the election about how they were going to get the city back on its feet. But the point was that the election night, the big cities are the last to come in. It wasn't a dump. And as much as I'm a Republican, I saw the figures, we're traveling, and I said they're going to lose because of the way people have voted for years. And that's what happened. Let's get over it and let's get on to 2022.
Thank you. Parker Fairbairn.
Well, this is one that fires me up. We've made voting convenient. It used to be election day, and now we've made it election month or whatever. That has to stop. Elections weren't meant to be convenient, so we need to do whatever we can to secure them. The legislature in the last year and a half has tried to pass 40-some pieces of legislation, bipartisan some of them, and Governor Whitmer has vetoed every single one of them. We've got to get a new governor in there first if we're going to start doing these things. And they're common sense election integrity measures that both Democrats and Republicans get behind, and yet our governor can't get behind them. This is factual. You can go and look it up on the Michigan government website. The 2020 election is something that we have to move past as a Republican Party and as a nation. We need to start looking to 2024, or else we're going to be caught on our heels and lose 2024's presidential race. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This last question starts with Jonathan Scheel, and we'll go right down the row again. Jonathan, in your opinion, what off-the-radar issue has not gotten enough attention in this race and that you feel passionately about?
So I'm going back to infrastructure. I read last week that we're going to have rolling blackouts here in northern Michigan, and now it seems to expand throughout the state. Our legislature, Republicans and Democrats, are not doing their job. I want to govern. I want to do things that you expect your government to do. I do not want to become a third world country where you go to your light switch, turn it on, and you no longer have electricity. These are the things that make us uncompetitive. Our roads, the 2019 gas tax, and to me that's a fiasco. They're getting another 35-40 cents on top of that, or with that $5 gasoline you're paying for, and none of that's going to our roads. We've got to get our infrastructure in place. We don't want to have more flints. We don't. I was a former water district manager for years out in California, and our underground utilities are sitting time bombs. Our local governments cannot afford to. They're doing their very, very best, not their fault, but they're trying to keep them up, and they're struggling with that. The state has to collaborate with our local cities and make sure our infrastructure is up to date, both for serious consequences, but also to be competitive.
Thank you. David Lofbaum.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. It's liberty. What we saw is the lack of anybody understanding of the Constitution. The United States says it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and what that really means is property on the end. And what we had was 60 million babies butchered because they were not entitled to life and they did not get due process. That's a big one for me. The other thing is the businesses are treated the same way. They don't go by the Constitution, and so all the rules seem to change right in midstream, and it's cost this state, I don't know how many millions and billions of dollars. And so we have to get back to where we got personal liberty, our property is respected, our life is respected, and then we can get into the First Amendment rights. Can you imagine the red flag laws where your neighbor can actually break your Constitution rights just by squealing on you and saying, oh, I think this guy is a danger. They come in, they ignore the Constitution, they grab your guns, they leave you helpless.
Thank you. Neil Frisky.
Well, I think there's a handful of Patriot candidates that are talking about this, but in general, one of the things that is being overlooked is the establishment's influence on our local races. And that's something that needs to be exposed. The big lobby groups are they get behind candidates, and there's a handful of like Right to Life. I've got the Right to Life endorsement. I've got the Heartbeat Coalition endorsement, and those are great little organizations. But basically, we have legislators and establishment people that are infiltrating our races and trying to influence. And I mentioned in my opening remarks the negative attacks that are coming at me. And that's exactly what that's all about. They realize that I'm not somebody that's going to be controlled when I get to Lansing, and so they don't want me there. And they're going to work really hard and try to make sure that I don't get elected. But I have a lot of confidence in people like you in this room and the Patriot movement that we are going to elect Patriot constitutional candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Carr.
Well, infrastructure is good. I've been flying airplanes since I was a freshman in college, and I'm in the railroad business, and I have a stretch lowboy trailer. We were talking to somebody today. He has a 57-foot trailer. I have a 72-foot trailer, and we got into the railroad business to save antique railroad cars. But I think what's not on the radar is these candidates all over Facebook who are running for the state house. They're talking about they're going to take on the governor, and we're going to change the president, all this kind of stuff, and they're not talking about what a state house member does. The state house member is the person that works with the townships and the counties and the cities, between them and the governor's office. Why don't we get back to doing that? And the other thing, of course, I'm Chamber of Commerce guy, is that I'm really serious about it. Now, Petoskey, Charlevoix, our towns. Have you ever been to Rayburn? You've been to Rayburn, so you know what I'm talking about. Pickford? We have a lot of work to do. I say taking care of each community. I mean it. because these communities can really thrive if they get together and we teach them, we who have done this kind of thing, how small businesses next to each other in their downtowns all of a sudden turn the whole place around. And by the way, what's interesting, Harbor Springs and Charlevoix learned something. They have built theaters down there and got people back down to town. That's just one example.
Thank you. Parker Fairbairn.
Well, I have an innovative solution to help fix our roads, and I think that's one that's been talked about a lot. I'd like to see toll roads, and people say, whoa, you want to see toll roads? Yeah, I do. I'd like to see us get rid of the gas tax. That'd be saving us 20 cents a gallon. That'd feel really good at the pumps right now. So these toll roads offers a competitive scenario instead of taxes. It's a more free market approach to taxing. If you're not using the roads where these toll roads are, you're not going to get the tax. But if you're using them frequently, like traveling I-75 frequently, you're gonna be paying for it. But this also introduces out-of-state money, which we don't get right now. The people who come and travel, and one of our big industries is tourism, out of state to Michigan, this brings in new money that we would have never seen before. So I think that's an innovative solution to our road problem in Michigan. It's something I'd get behind as your next state representative. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Decker.
I think what a lot of people have been overlooking lately is we're supposed to have a separation of church and state. I believe it is in the Constitution.
Let her speak. It's her 90 seconds. Thank you.
There is it's supposed to be a separation of church and state. And I don't know why all of a sudden the church has decided to get into politics so heavily. And I just don't understand it. That's
Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. That concludes the state reps race. I'm looking at two sheets of paper at once. So thank you for the 107th House District candidates. They're going to step down and we're going to invite up Thank you very much. And we're going to keep things moving right along. And next, invite up our Senate race candidates. I'll get waters.
If we can have everyone's attention, we're going to go ahead and begin our next forum. So I'd like to welcome to the front our candidates that we have joining us for the 37th State Senate District. We have Randy Bishop, Barbara Conley, Jim Schmidt, Tristan Cole, John DeMoose, William Hindle, and George Ranville. I'm going to pass it over to Nikki again to review our forum rules and format, and then we will begin.
Thank you very much, candidates. Reminders to all, the candidates simply have 90 seconds to respond, so we do ask that you be respectful of them when they are speaking and allow them to not be interrupted. Candidates, you will be asked questions just as our last forum by our moderator in a rotating order so that each of you do have an equal opportunity to be the first to answer. You will each have 90 seconds to answer the question. Sarah will hold up time cards indicating when we are at the 30-second, 10-second, and when we are out of time, and we will promptly move along at that point. A reminder that this is a forum and not a debate, and we ask each candidate to have that allotted time to answer their question without open discourse. We also ask that you please be respectful of each other's time and use only your allotted time to answer the question. With that, we will turn it back over to Scott, our moderator.
Thank you, everyone. All right, once again, everyone will have 1 to 2 minutes to give an opening statement, and we will start on my immediate right. We'll start with Tristan Cole and move our way all the way down to William Hindle at the end. So, Tristan Cole, please, your opening statement.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to be here, and what a nice turnout here in Petoskey. I'm looking forward to this forum and to be able to showcase where my experience sets me apart from my candidates. I spent 6 years in the state legislature serving on a multitude of committees and in leadership positions, and I'm best suited in this race to serve minute one, day one, as the next senator in the 37th Senate District. I've got 35 different PAs that I've developed the legislation for and worked under 2 different administrations. It's important that folks realize here in the 37th we have a very diverse district. We go from Sault Ste. Marie all the way around to Northport. Leelanau County being part of the district at this point as we lost Luce County, the western side above 75. With an agriculture background, a legislative background that goes back to the early 2000s, a farming background, and a background and experience level of working with others makes me best suited to be the next state senator in the 37th Senate District, and I'm excited to share some answers with the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Schmidt, your opening statement, please.
My name is Jim Schmidt, and I'm running for a state senator of the 37th District. I ran in 2014, and I wasn't backed by I'm running on a Democratic ticket, very obviously. In 2014, I was not backed by the Democratic Party. A fellow I ran against was Phil Belsey, and I spent $374 on the whole campaign, which was my own money. And I got 6,000 business cards front and back printed, and I went door to door. And I only had one sign out, and that was my front yard. I didn't do any TV advertising. I didn't put anything in the papers. And I only lost by 174 votes. So it's an easy name to remember because Wayne Schmidt is the one that somebody's going to get the job. And my last name is Schmidt the same way, so whatever. Actually, I'm a half-breed. Schmidt, of course, is German, but my mother was born in Sheffield, England, and she came over here when she was 6 years old, and she got naturalized in 6 months with her mother and dad. So I'm half German and half Johnny Bull. But anyway, my thing is I watch money very carefully, and I believe that the Michigan Department of Corrections sucks up about 42% of the state budget, and I believe that should be eliminated. Michigan has the highest rate per capita of inmates incarcerated in correctional facilities in Michigan than any other state in the union, so much to the point that we form it out to Alabama and Virginia. So I believe we should reduce that and increase our amount for education and other things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Randy Bishop.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Randy Bishop. I'm running for the 37th State Senate as a Democrat candidate. I'm running as a common sense business Democrat. I'm not interested in the far left agenda. I'm looking to fix the state of Michigan. If you go to my website, randybishop.org, and you click on issues, you'll see exactly what needs to be done to fix our state, especially the 37th. I can win this Senate seat if I win the Democratic primary. So I'm only going to talk to the Democrats in the room right now. If you're a Republican, don't listen to me. The Democrats are going to lose this seat because this seat is 55% Republican, 42% Democrat. if my two opponents, with all due respect, are the nominee as the Democrat Senate candidate, they will lose in November. I guarantee it. I can win. Because if I get the nomination for the Democrats and get that 42% vote, I only have to get 20% of the Republicans to vote for me. And many of you know me. And you know what I stand for. And you know exactly what my values and principles are. We need to fix the state. We need to forget R's and D's. This Senate seat has been in control of the senators, the Republican side, for decades. What good has it done us? Our state is broken. It needs to be fixed. If you go to randybishop.org, you look at my issues, you'll see what I will do if the Democrats elect me to be their nominee on August 2nd. If not, my two Democratic opponents will lose. The Republican will win. I guarantee it. Thank you.
Thank you. John DeMoose.
Yes, is this on? Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you for having us all here today, and it's great to be in my hometown here with so much support. I'm the current state representative for the 107th District, running for this 37th District seat. I'll tell you right now that these are serious times, both on a national level and on a state level. We don't have time for politics as usual. We don't have time to play around. Now, there's real hope out there. Right now, over the pandemic, we saw a flood of people move up here who always wanted to live up north, and now they can. That's a good thing. Full-time residents make a much deeper commitment to our area than do these visitors who we all still know and love. There's hopeful things like that. But on the horizon, we have real problems, actual problems we need to actually be thinking about, like a mental health crisis that has never been anything like it in this district. Like affordable housing, like every business person I talk to wonders, where did all the workers go? We have a workforce challenge that nobody can even figure out. Even we can't figure it out as hard as we're working on it at the state level, but we're going to stay on it. These are complicated issues, and they're going to take serious-minded people to solve them, and to chip away at them, I should say. So I have 30 years of business experience, working with everybody from the Department of Defense to Ford Motor Company to local businesses. I always wanted to get into politics and tried to, or thought about it younger, when I was much younger, but I realized that over that course of that 30 years, I was picking up experience that now that I'm in the legislature, I see is extremely important. These are complicated issues. They require people who are going to think deeply about them and bring people together to help solve these issues. And that's what you're going to get if you put me in the state Senate. Thank you.
Thank you. George Ranville.
Hi, I'm George Ranville, and I, too, am running for the 37th seat. My wife, Gail, is here. I'm from Mackinac City. We own Beer to Mac Brew Works. I'm a small businessman. I've seen the troubles and issues with small business up close and personal. In 2019, we had 35 employees. We're down to 8. We're still surviving, looking for a good summer, but I see the issues of high taxes, high regulation, and all the issues that we've had to deal with COVID affecting our small businesses. I was a Navy officer, a lieutenant commander. I think I'm the only person that has served in the military in this crowd of candidates. I think that's important. That proves where you believe, what you believe in, and that you're willing to do the hard work and take the necessary risks to do well for our country. I'm an elected official. I am on the village council in Mackinac City. I'm the head of the finance committee. I'm seeing all the financial issues that come at us from unfunded mandates in the state. And we need to help out our small governments, the townships, the counties, the villages, the cities. It takes leadership and it takes experience to help out and improve what we're seeing, all the housing issues, all the personnel issues, all the legal issues that go along with housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Conley.
Hi, I'm Barb Conley, and I am also running for the Michigan State Senate 37th District. I want to thank the organizers for organizing this important forum. That's it's so incredibly important that citizens understand what their elected officials will do. And I also want to thank all of you for coming and spending your evening with us, listening to questions and answers, which is also very important. So I'm running because all Michiganders deserve a good quality of life and a path to a secure future. I'm a mom, I'm an oncologist, I'm a community volunteer, and I see the problems every day that people are having. They work more than one job, yet they cannot find affordable housing. Healthcare, I know very well. I think that we have a problem with healthcare. We don't have enough providers up here, and certainly we do not have enough mental health care providers up here, and I think the state can help that. We also have people who don't make enough money to actually buy health insurance, or if they do it, the deductible is so high that it puts them in debt for any kind of use of the health insurance. So I am running for that. I do have, I live in Northport, previously mentioned, and that's in Leelanau County. I am active in the community. I am on the, I am actually vice president of the Northport Public School Board of Education, and I am currently chair of the Board of Health in the Benzie-Leelanau District Health Department. I am also a proud member of the Leelanau County Democratic Party and the Michigan Democrats, which makes me the only Democrat running in the Democratic primary. So I do hope you will vote for me in November, and I will always listen to your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. William Hindle.
Hello, my name is William Hindle, and I am running for the 37th district seat, state senate seat. Can you hear me okay? All right, good. Yeah, I was born and raised here in Michigan. I've been married for 34 years to my lovely wife. We have 5 children that we homeschooled, and we have 3 grandchildren that are also being homeschooled at this time. My business experience, I have a home inspection business I've been running for about 25 years, and I bring that experience to the table. One thing about me that I'm going to be doing is I will not be taking any lobbyist money. I'm just a regular guy who's going to be running for office and be properly representing you, the people from this district. And it's time for someone like myself to run and not be influenced or be bought or sold by anybody in Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question will start with Jim Schmidt and then move on down the line through Randy Bishop and John DeMoose. Jim Schmidt, this first question comes to you. The past few years have brought many of our state's challenges to light, while also presenting new and different opportunities, particularly when it comes to one-time federal funding. In your opinion, what priorities should be funded with those one-time federal dollars?
Like I said, I'm Jim Schmidt, and I believe that I'm pushing for the rapid rail transit system between Petoskey, Traverse City, and down to Ann Arbor. And it's got quite an impact lately. It was in the Record Eagle a week ago, and it's been on the news a couple times. They've got it all figured out. 60% of the track is already available to go 60 miles an hour, but they haven't figured out where they're going to get the $1.12 million to do the rest of it. So anyway, I believe that federal funding could be used. Biden put a lot into infrastructure. That was one of his big things when he got into office. And I believe that one of the big things for federal money right now would be to get the Eisenhower lock or the pole lock in Sault Ste. Marie and Sioux Locks revamped to get 1,000-foot freighters through there. The money was earmarked. It's called the Clean Water Bill, but they never went through with it. And the price of the building materials have increased. So it's kind of putting it to one side at the moment, but it should be done. It's very important. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Randy Bishop.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, if anybody needs questions repeated, please let me know. Repeat the question. The past few years have brought many of our state's challenges to light, while also presenting new and different opportunities, particularly when it comes to one-time federal funding. In your opinion, which of the state's priorities should be funded with those one-time federal dollars?
Federal dollars come with strings attached. You look at the strings, and I say send it back to Washington. We need to fix our state, but we need to do it at the state level, and we need to be a free state. Every single time we accept federal dollars, strings are attached. Department of Education. It was supposed to be abolished when President Reagan got elected in 1980 because it was a freebie for Jimmy Carter to the union teachers. Federal dollars has screwed up education in our state. Our roads are screwed up. because of federal dollars. Sorry, we don't need it. We need to fix it, and we need to be free. And if we get leadership in Lansing to understand this, regardless of whether they're Republican or Democrat, fix it and make us free. That's how you'll attract businesses here. That's how you get more families to move here. That's how you'll fix the schools. Go to my website, randybishop.org, look at issues. This is real to me. I have kids and grandkids not in this state because it's messed up. And where are they? Florida and Texas. No state income tax. They're free. They have less legislative strings attached to those states than we do. We're connected to Washington. It's got to stop.
Thank you. John DeMoose.
Yes, thank you. This is actually not just a problem I'm thinking about, it's something that I'm actually working on. These federal funds, we need to be very aware, they could be a huge blessing to us, or they could turn into a huge curse for us. Make no mistake about it. If we use them to fund long-term government programs or start a bunch of new programs that 5, 10, 15 years from now we're still paying for, we're going to be in serious trouble as a state. So what we're trying to do is direct those projects or those funds to one-time projects that could make a real difference. I'm trying, because it's a big issue for me, with this whole mental health issue. I've got some funds, I think, for this War Memorial Hospital up in the Sault Ste. Marie. They need to expand their facility to help treat adolescents. That's a great use for this money because it's a one-time deal. And then it's going to be carried on by private business. So we're looking for those type of things. The other thing we're working on, spending a whole lot of time working on, is how can we get more money to our local county road associations, our county road commissions. How do we get them money so they can actually pick the roads to fund? Most of our money that the state spends on roads goes to MDOT roads, like I-75. That's why I-75 is so nice. They don't go to the side roads like we're doing. County road commissions know exactly where that money should be spent, and we need to step out of that in Lansing and give it to them, and that's one of the things I think we should do.
Thank you. George Ranville.
Repeat the question.
Yes. The past few years have brought many of our state's challenges to light, while also presenting new and different opportunities, particularly when it comes to one-time federal funding. In your opinion, which of the state's priorities should be funded with these one-time federal dollars?
Well, first of all, I think that the last 2 years have shown how government can really mess up local business, local government. We've had the pandemic and all the rules that came and followed that affected our businesses so closely. Now we're looking at money that's sitting out there that we need to use to lower our debt, to make sure that we aren't, as a state, tied to more new programs, as stated by some of the other candidates. And we also should use that money for local government, if we're going to do it, local counties, local villages, so they can handle the problems of the infrastructure themselves, whether it's water and sewer or roads or any other issue that we have infrastructure-wise in our counties and in our towns. All this is not best handled by Lansing from afar. It'd be best handled by Emmet County or Charlevoix County or your local villages. Thanks.
Thank you. Barb Conley.
Yeah, I just want to remind people that the federal dollars got there from our taxes, and they can come back to us as well, and they can be used for good things. I would invest them in what is very important to us, and that is our people and our infrastructure. Our infrastructure has been left for so long, and it needs to be fixed so that we can preserve the health and safety and future of our people, and we can invest in things that will go forward and be picked up by private business or other things that can lead to a better life for our people, such as education, such as childcare. Thank you.
Thank you. William Hindle.
These federal dollars, if we actually had to spend them, my opinion on that would be spend them on police force, law enforcement training. As I've gone throughout the district here, a big complaint from all the local law enforcement is that they don't have enough money for training. And I think it's very important that we have the law enforcement trained to protect us especially in lieu of the immigrants that are coming across the border. I mean, on their way down south, but they're dropping some of those off in our areas here. But I think that money would be well spent if we had to spend it to bolster the law enforcement. They want more training, and that would help out quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Tristan Cole.
Yes, thank you. One thing that was highlighted with the pandemic was that a broad brush approach to the state of Michigan is an utter failure for our rural areas. It highlighted that. As a previous legislator for 6 years, I fought for equal treatment for northern Michigan. It comes down to relationships. What I might think is important to one area may be something entirely different to them. So I built an entire network of relationships with local elected officials and made sure that everyone had my personal cell phone and knew that if they got a hold of my office that they would be communicated back with. I set up coffees to find out what was important to those specific communities. And that's what needs to happen from the next state senator, is to continue on being freely available and open, building those relationships so we can identify exactly where those dollars need to be spent or should be spent in our local communities. If we send it back, it's simply going to be spent on other states, on other projects. Fighting for equitable resource here in northern Michigan, the disbursement, is something that's a top priority.
Thank you. This next question will start with Randy Bishop. Housing is a growing concern in our region and in our communities, and many have begun to refer to it as a crisis. Our community members, workforce, residents cannot find attainable housing options. Through work with the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, our local chambers of commerce have supported and proposed a bill package to help incentivize new housing and have worked towards solutions for many of the local housing barriers, such as short-term rentals. What are your opinions of these ideas and solutions, and what should the state do to help Michiganders continue to live here? So we'll start with Randy and then move on down.
randybishop.org. This issue is listed there because if we fix the state, we can get people back here. One of the things that needs to be done, everybody thinks it's either Washington or Lansing. Housing is a local issue. You don't live in Lansing, you don't live in Washington, D.C. Over-regulation and over-zoning at the local level has caused the problems. Every single community does not want affordable housing in their backyard. But yet, you can pick out of these 8 counties certain areas where affordable housing could be developed. Underground water infrastructure, city water, city sewers, electricity, internet, could be done at the local level. But the local officials don't know how to do it. That's where state reps and state senators on a part-time legislature could have the time to go back and work at the local level to change these local zoning ordinances that are a problem. You bring forward areas that affordable housing can be done by private sector. The money is available. They want to invest and develop affordable homes, but the local zoning ordinances kill it. It can't be fixed in Washington. It can't be fixed in Lansing. You need state reps and state senators that will go and work at the local level to change overregulation at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you. John DeMoose.
It's great. And actually, Randy, I kind of agree with you. There are a lot of local components to this where we need to fix some of these zoning things. We've even seen great projects come to us in Lansing, and we come back home and talk about them, and these two groups are at war over each other. We can't do that type of thing. But I'll tell you what, this is a big issue, and I've been really involved in this, and it's a complicated issue. Short-term rentals are really a problem for us. We have a bill that came before the House, and it got passed out of the House. It's being considered in the Senate, that was originally intended to strip away any local control whatsoever on short-term rentals. So the city of Petoskey, you couldn't do anything about it. It was a fundamental right of home ownership. So I got involved in that fight, and it was a knockdown, drag-out fight. We got to version 11. I ended up saying, fine, you gave me some things. It goes to the Senate. Now it's dead, hopefully. But we're going to have to wrestle with this whole thing. I think the solutions, though, the things that excite me most are something the Northern Chamber brought to me, these type of ideas, where if short-term rentals are the problem, let short-term rentals help solve the problem. Right now, short-term rentals aren't taxed like hotel rooms, and that's going to change no matter what. Why not set up a program by which that tax, rather than just go to marketing, goes into affordable housing? These are creative ideas. That may or may not be the right solution, but I've got a bill about to propose that, and we'll find out if it's a good idea or not. But we all need to work together. Lansing, local, and everybody else gets involved, because this is what businesses are saying is one of their number one priorities, is their people can't find a place to live.
Thank you. George Ranville.
The issue is housing. And for instance, I have one of my key employees. He lived in a rental house. He rented it. He's doing well. And that house, he had to leave so that they could short-term rental it. In Mackinac City, we have a terrible problem with short-term rentals. There's no housing. We do not have a teacher in our high school that has been able to find a house. This isn't just low income. That has been able to find a house in Mackinac City because of all the short-term rentals. We need to really work against that. We also have to change our zoning. We had zoning issues in Mackinac City that are overwhelmingly influenced by state zoning. So we've had organizations come in. Here's how you have to plan your city. We'll help you do the zoning. And they put in zoning regulations that in no way should be in a small town in northern Michigan. Zoning issues, as you guys have said, is a huge issue. We do have, as a village, we have property. We have areas that we could develop. We just need to get the regulations from the state out of the way, and we need to change our zoning, and we need to work locally and regionally, such as in the NLEA, which I'm a member of. And we can address these things, but it has to be local.
Thank you. Barb Conley.
Yeah, thank you. Housing, of course, is a big issue, and I do think it's at crisis level. I look at short-term rentals as a problem, but it might be a little bit separate from housing. We have a housing problem. We also have a shortage of people who can build housing. So what we need to do as a state is we need to incentivize the training and education of those people who can build housing, bring them up here, change the zoning. There's been a lot of that talk about that, at least in Leelanau and Grand Traverse, about changing the zoning. So that's starting to happen. But we need to make it possible to build new housing, as well as to regulate short-term rentals. Those short-term rentals that are operating like little hotels should be regulated and taxed like little hotels.
Thank you. William Hindle.
Yes, the affordable housing issue is, as we know, quite extensive here. One of the plans I would have would be to work with the counties and to refurbish any foreclosed housing that may be, on the tax rolls in the foreclosure state, and to work with some nonprofits to rehabilitate those and get those back on the market, get them to living condition, back on the market. Also, another idea is to have maybe to roll back some of the property tax and make owning a house a little more affordable, and then cap it for a certain amount of time. That's what I would do.
Thank you. Tristan Cole.
Yes, let's focus on the position that we're running for, which is the position of state senate, not local zoning administrator, not local zoning. Our daughter is 20 years old. She's getting married this fall, and we live in an unzoned township, and she's building a tiny house because that's what her and her fiance can afford. Part of the role of state senator is to build relationships with the departments to help and aid community members, whether it be a business or an individual, navigate the permitting system when there's a problem. And then through that, identifying the problem, introducing legislation to fix it. Also coming up with innovative ideas. I did that as a state representative. I proposed legislation that would extend the homestead property tax if a property owner of a second, third, or fourth home entered into a long-term rental agreement, because that's that person's home. And that's a real solution that provides options to property owners. It's not about us having a silver bullet, but it's about relationships and being available as a state senator to the people, to the businesses, and being the liaison with government.
Thank you. Jim Schmidt.
Give me the question again, please.
For sure. Housing is a growing concern in our region and our communities, and many have begun to refer to it as a crisis. Many members of our communities cannot find attainable housing options. Through work with the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, our local chambers have supported and proposed a package of bills to help incentivize new housing and have worked towards solutions for many of the local housing barriers, such as short-term rentals. What are your views on these issues, and what should the state do to help Michiganders continue to live here?
Well, number one is there is a lack of short-term housing, but there's also a lack of people that have enough income because they're only working like a seasonal job 3 or 4 months a year to actually afford short-term housing. So I believe that it can go on. Like today, for example, on the news, Elk Rapids Council yesterday turned down 40 suites, and they're going to turn them into 80 single-bedroom homes, and they turned it down. So that would have been a good example right there of short-term housing, low income. Now, we do have Section 4 and Section 8, and they do afford a lot of housing options for people that are low income. And, you know, you have to apply for these things, and a lot of times they're available. Habitat for Humanity is one of them, of course. And there's other, like Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency in Traverse City. They're another one that you can go through. So you just have to kind of look at the resources and then go from there. And the resources are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question starts with John DeMoose. John, if you could change one thing about how the state of Michigan is run, what would it be?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you there's a couple things, but I'll stick with one. I think what we need, and this is not partisan left or right, and this goes across state and national, is we need a rebirth of grace and civility. I think people have had enough of everybody yelling and screaming at one another, and I think I've spent a career with this. I can tell you it's practical, too. I've learned this in the legislature. If I go up to somebody on the Democratic side and I scream and yell and force my views on them, the first thing they're going to do is decide to never listen to me again. I've lost the argument, and I have no chance of persuading them whatsoever. My dad, who's sitting right here, he and I started a company with the whole goal of uncovering the source of America's greatness, telling stories on television that do that in a manner that all Americans could celebrate, because we are an exceptional nation. I mean, grace and civility is at the core of everything we do. I sort of live by 2 scriptures down in Lansing. One is stand firm and let nothing move you. And the other one is treat others as you'd like to be treated. And finding those two seem to be in conflict with one another, but finding that balance of how you don't sacrifice your principles, but you find a way to respect the other person and bring them along. I think that's what our government needs, and that's what I would change in the state of Michigan.
Thank you. George Ranville.
I think we have to have truth. We have too many people lying, too many people not being honest, and you hear one story and another story. They can't both be right. We need truth. We need information. We need to be able to have information coming in out of the state in the medias, both medias, that we can believe. The second thing we need to do is we need to look at the state government, and we need to zero base that. It is twice, our government spends twice as much money as the state of Georgia, and we have the same number of people. We have way too much waste. We spend way too much tax money. We really need to clean up our budget in Lansing, and we need to stop new taxes, and we need to cut those taxes and create efficiency.
Thank you. Barb Conley.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. If you could change one thing about how the state of Michigan is run, what would it be?
So how the state of Michigan is run, I think that one thing I would change about how the state of Michigan is run is that they would concentrate on making us, again, a state where you can make a good living, a good middle-class living.
Thank you. To William Hindle, then.
Yes, what I'd like to see changed in Michigan and the government would be having some transparency and accountability. We haven't seen that in decades. I'd like to know where my tax monies are being spent. I'm sure all you guys would like to know where your tax money is being spent. And as your next state senator, I will show you exactly where it's going, every single dime. Thank you.
Thank you. Tristan Cole.
Yes, thank you. And I was sitting here contemplating which one of the issues I would address to you. And it comes down to something that's not real popular and most people don't realize is the problem. And it's not your elected officials, but it's the administrative rule process. Unelected bureaucrats that create rules that have the power of law that impact each and every one of you. And as an elected official, I fought that. I actually passed legislation that stabilized the regulatory environment, but I want to go back as your next state senator to do even more to rein in the bureaucracy. Think about it. I served 3 two-year terms as a representative. I'm looking to earn your support to serve 2, or at least 1, 4-year term in the state Senate. That's 14 years total. The bureaucracy, they may spend 30 years. Who has the upper hand on your voice in Lansing? It took 3 years for me to become effective in battling this, and I have that skill set, and I'm looking to carry that forward as the next state senator to be your voice to battle the bureaucracy, the real problem in Lansing.
Thank you. Jim Schmidt.
Well, what I would do, and if I'm elected in November, I will seek a second term. That'll be 8 years. And I believe that I'm going to eliminate the state sales tax. And what we're going to do is on forestation, forests in Michigan, the state of Michigan owns, are not being timbered off correctly. They're not being actually used at all. Trees get so big for saw logs and they start to rot in the middle and they just fall down. It's a waste of time. So I believe in selective cutting and put it into a fund. And also, a lot of the timberland in Michigan is just like tag elders. They only get to be 14, 16 feet tall, and they only got like a 5-6 inch trunk. And cut them up and use them for biomass for generating power. Now, just below Grayling, Michigan, the exit heading north before Grayling, you go make a right-hand turn, get off the ramp. Consumers Energy has a bio plant there that they use chip wood, and they generate electricity. And it's been there for about 10, 12 years, and it works out really good. So that would be what I would do. And that's why I would eliminate the state sales tax. And I'll also set up a fund like Alaska has, where every year the citizens of the state of Michigan would get a fund for the money that's generated off of the timberland, just like Alaska.
Thank you. Randy Bishop.
The one thing I would do to fix the state would be go to my website, randybishop.org, and look at my issues. It's very simple. 6 items. They're very simple. Car insurance, reform package we got, didn't work. We got to cut car insurance in half. We have to get rid of personal income tax and corporate income tax. We have to get rid of those taxes by eliminating these bureaucratic departments that Tristan talked about. Why does MDOT have 5 airplanes? They don't know where the potholes are in northern Michigan. Our local county road commissions do. Eliminate MDOT, get rid of the 5 airplanes, and give the money to the local road commissions to fix the damn roads that Governor Whitmer still hasn't done. 42% of our roads are in poor condition. She ran on it 4 years ago, and she wants to be reelected. We need to fix the public schools. $14,000 to every student on a MyEDU card. The money sticks with the kid. You want to go to a good public school? Go there. You want to go to a charter Christian homeschool? Go there. Make them compete. Parker's been listening to my show. Competition in education is good. And it's the only way public schools will get better. You make them compete. Cell phones, how much did we pay 20, 30 years ago? How much do you pay today? It's called consume education. And then part-time legislature when all the work is done. Go to my website, you'll see my list on issues.
Thank you. The next question will start with George Ranville. George, can you provide an example of where you differ from most of the members of your political party?
I differ in that I've had many businesses, many employees. I started a charity. I ran a charity called Alternatives in Motion, aimgr.org. We provided wheelchairs for people who are uninsured. I've had lots of other businesses, which gives me experience in what we have to fix in Lansing. Not just not just some of the small businesses, but I've had big businesses. I worked in huge organizations in Washington, D.C., where I excelled. I was the deputy operations officer at a command of 300, where I did all the tasking for all 9 departments with an intelligence command. I also coordinated intelligence collections worldwide for Desert Storm for the Navy and the Marine Corps. I've had experience with big groups, I've had experience with small businesses, and I think that experience is what allows you to go into Lansing and not get sucked into the melee in Lansing. You have to have experience, and you have to be able to stand up to all the bureaucrats that we're talking about.
Thank you. Barb Conley.
Yeah, probably where I may differ with most of the members of the Democratic Party is in my support of the creativity of small businesses and entrepreneurs. I think this is the engine of our economy, and I think if we're smart as a government, we will incentivize this, and we will create good paying jobs for up here in the rural areas as well as all over the state. And so that is, I'm probably a little more business-minded than most Democrats.
Thank you. William Hindle.
What makes me different is I'm a constitutional conservative who is willing to fight for our freedoms, and I'm not willing to back down whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you. Tristan Cole.
Yes, so well, this is a challenging question for multiple reasons. What makes me different is I've recognized that the Republican Party is the Big Tent party, and that we should be confident and we should run on our values and what we stand for, not shy away from those things, and actually be inviting. That, in large part, the Democrat Party has left, the progressives have left the Democrat Party that used to be very pro-American. So what did I do? As state representative, I led the Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus for 4 years, something that's very passionate to me and my family. We were the original conservation and environmentalists, hunters and anglers. So I reached across the aisle, and I asked Leslie Love from the inner city Detroit, who'd never held a fishing pole or shot a gun in her life, to be my co-chair. And I showed her what was important to rural Michigan and rural America. I changed her life. And if you watch her speech on the House floor, you can see that because she says that. And that's what I did as state senator, and that's something that differentiates me from the rest of the field.
Thank you. Jim Schmidt.
Hello. What differentiates me from the rest of the field is this. I was a farmer for 45 years. I raised about a 45-head herd of Black Angus registered cattle, about 500 apple trees, and we also had I had about 62 beehives, and that was my hobby. My real job was I ran a manufacturing company that I bought out from my parents. They started in 1942, and they did government work for the Department of Ordnance, Defense, and Military, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, what have you. So I've dealt with a lot of things with the federal government as far as inspectors, and it's a pain in the butt. So my idea is I'm for the businessman. Everything I've done in my life, I've had to count for the money, and I've made it happen, and I kept the thing glued together for about 45 years of business, too, after I bought it out from my parents. So I know what a buck is, and I squeeze a nickel to the buffalo wings. That's just me. But I'm for money, and I'm for making it go. And the thing about it is this. We spend $37,500 for each inmate in Michigan Correctional Facility. We spend about $9,000 to educate a child K through 12. Something's way off. I mean, anybody that has any account, I have 2 business degrees, a master's degree as an accounting, and I graduated from an NMC in 2008 with a paralegal degree. And I was going to go to law school. I took the LSAT twice, a year and a half apart. Second time I scored real high on it, which gave me almost a full-ride scholarship for Cooley. And they have an accelerated plan, but I decided to run for senator instead. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy Bishop.
What differentiates me from the Democrat Party? I'm running as a common sense business Democrat. The reason is because it doesn't matter what your personal agenda items are. I am 100% pro-life. I am the only Democrat in the state of Michigan that was endorsed by the Heartbeat Coalition and Michigan for Life. I am also absolutely pro-Second Amendment. I talked to Bart Stupak, former congressman, 3 times. Bart Stupak supports me running as a Democrat. You know why? He said, Randy, I did it for 18 years. People below the bridge, people above the bridge. Pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. But you got to fix the state. He's a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. He doesn't even live in our state anymore. Why? It's broken. It needs to be fixed. I am the only Democrat that can win in November. If the Democrats vote for my opponents, they will lose. If I win the nomination, will challenge the Republican candidate, sharpen the stone. Iron sharpens iron, stone sharpens stones, and guess what? We need to fix the state, forget the R's and the D's, but you need to know who we are and what we stand for.
Yes, let him talk, please. Let him talk.
And I can win in November, because you'll have to vote for me because you have a D behind your name. The problem is we need to fix the state. Thank you.
Thank you. John DeMoose.
Yeah, so
let him.
So the question is,
this is John DeMoose's time. Thank you very much.
The question is, what differentiates us from our party? And I'll say that, you know, I joined the Republican Party because I had the blessing of growing up under Ronald Reagan. I was 8 years old when he became president, 16 years when he left, and those were my formative years of all my political viewpoints. And even when I didn't understand what he was saying, he was just larger than life, and he was pure goodness, and his voice was reassuring, and everything about this is what I fell in love with the Republican Party. Where I differ is where we're moving away from that. And I fear that there's a couple of different elements that within our party that we need to keep an eye on. One is, while I am tempted by certain libertarian ideas, and I may tend that way on certain things, I do see a role for government. And what we had a conflict on this very situation, and I got to tell you, I reacted pretty poorly. I felt like calling off and hitting this guy in caucus because this was over these economic development funds we did after Ford Motor Company left the state of Michigan and went to Tennessee. He actually said, you know what? I think it's a good thing that Ford went to Tennessee. It's the sign of a free market at work. What state is he working for? So I think that as the party strays towards that and sees no role for government, that's probably where I part ways with my own party a bit.
Thank you. The next question starts with Barb Conley. There have been accusations of financial improprieties surrounding a previous leader in the state house. What changes can the state legislature make to assure voters that leaders are acting ethically in the discharge of their duties?
I think we need a lot more transparency in the state government. I think that the state legislature and the governor should be, all of their decisions should be FOIA-able. And I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to put your own income tax out for public to see before election.
Thank you. William Hindle.
What I think we should do, I know what I will be doing as your next state senator. I will be extremely transparent. You can come and ask me any kind of questions. I will tell you everything that's going on in Lansing, the bills that we're working on, and where the money is being spent. One of the ideas that I've had recently is maybe have an app that we could communicate to the constituents in real time to have them look at the bills and say, hey, this is a bill that's coming through. Let's take a look at this, and what do you guys think? Another idea that I had would be if there's one item, we have one item, one bill. I'm sorry, one item, one page, one bill. Instead of having stacks and stacks of pages for one bill that everything gets stuffed in, let's have one item, one bill, one page. Make it easy, make it simple, very transparent.
Thank you. Tristan Cole.
Yes, thank you. You know, the key thing here is transparency and clarity in current law. Right now, there's many gray areas and loopholes that are exploited by experts to find those areas where they can pull more money in and use them for nefarious things in some cases. It's important that the law is followed, and we've seen over the past few years that those gray areas need to be tightened up. As if I'm elected the next state senator, I know how to work that process. I know how to get 56, 20, and 1, the Lansing zip code, to achieve anything. We have a lot of great ideas, but unless you can achieve majority in the House, majority in the Senate, and the governor's signature, they're not worth the paper they're printed on. I have a proven ability to do that, and I look forward to working on transparency with campaign finance if elected your next state senator.
Thank you. Jim Schmidt.
Question again, please.
Yes, there have been accusations of financial improprieties surrounding a previous leader in the state House. What changes can the state legislature make to assure voters that leaders are acting ethically in the discharge of their duties?
Well, this is it. I'm against lobbying, and he accepted money for purposes of the wage hourly rate. I believe it was for the Carpenters Union or one of the unions, and he accepted it illegally. And to me, any lobbying is illegal. It's basically you're basically paying for. All you people are going to vote for somebody here, and do you want your vote to go wasted when somebody gets into office and then they take a nice check from somebody that's lobbying against them? They're taking your vote away from you. And I disallow a lot of the lobbying. I think it's criminal. I think it should be eliminated. And if I can get 174 votes short of Phil Velsty and only spend $364, I'd say lobbying wasn't necessary. I'd say you can do it on your own merit, and that's what I expect to do. And I will be the new senator to replace Wayne Schmidt. And all I got to do is remember Schmidt, Wayne Schmidt, Jim Schmidt. So it's pretty easy. But I believe in honesty. I've had to work hard for my money, and I've accumulated some. But I believe that you should be able to serve the people you are being voted in for. My district will consist right now of about 237,000 people. That's almost 250,000. So I want their vote, and I will be the Democratic senator, and I will change this thing around. So please vote for me, and if not, the thing about it is this. Just real quick, I know I got the red sign. I can't see that right, okay. Anyway, I believe that we should work together on this and forget the Democrat, Republican malarkey, the left wing, the right wing, the conservative, the liberal. I represent anybody, all 237,000 people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Randy Bishop.
I'm sorry.
Yes. There have been accusations of financial improprieties surrounding a previous leader in the state House. What changes can the legislature make to assure voters that leaders are acting ethically in the discharge of their duties?
Nothing. It's not the legislature's responsibility. These are allegations. He deserves his day in court. If he's found guilty, he'll pay the price. The people have the right to vote people out of office. These stories break. They have their day in court. Decisions are made by a jury of their peers. Shame on us for talking about allegations as if they're true, and therefore then asking the legislature to fix it. The governor refuses FOIA requests. We cannot get freedom of information out of anybody in Lansing because they don't want us to know the truth. If I get elected, I'll have a Facebook page. Every single bill will be on the page. You'll know about it, and I'll say, what do you guys think? I'll listen to you. It's accountability. If you go to my website, randybishop.org, there's no donate button. I believe I'm the only candidate up here that doesn't have a donate button on their website. Vicki and I are funding this campaign on our own. I won't take your money, and I won't take lobbyist money. And you'll know every single thing I do as your next state senator. Thank you.
Thank you. John DeMoose.
Yeah, this is one I'm passionate about because I believe, let's call it what it is, the former Speaker of the House betrayed each and every one of us. A lot of us poured a lot of money and time into, excuse me.
This is John DeMoose's time. Thank you. This is John DeMoose's time.
A lot of people poured a lot of money and resources into this man, and he betrayed us. And I'll tell you what, What I would crack down on is what these lobbyists do. I can't imagine knowing that this stuff was happening and not saying a word, being part of the inner circle and keeping your mouth quiet. That's wrong. That's wrong. I'll tell you what, I was offered a trip. One time I've seen this, 3 weeks into my tenure, to go to South Beach, Miami with the National Popular Vote folks who some people went to Hawaii with. I said, are you crazy? I'm going to go on half of my district is out of work at this point in time. Our restaurants were still closed, and they're taking representatives on these trips. So I'm supporting Ken Borton's bill banning lobbyist travel, lobbyist-funded travel. I've supported a 13-bill package on transparency. This is something we need to take seriously, and we learned it by our last administration and by that leadership team.
Thank you. George Ranville.
Transparency is very important. We need to make sure that we as citizens can get the information about what's taking place in Lansing, whether it's the governor or the legislature. And I will work hard to make sure that that transparency is available. I, too, would post what I'm working on my Facebook page and make sure that you know what I'm going to try to do. Having said all that, we as citizens need to all work to make sure there's honesty and integrity coming out of the media and who we listen to, whichever side we're on. And again, we need truth and we need honesty. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question starts with William Hindle. There are several social issues at the top of Michiganders' minds right now, including abortion, gun control, and gender equality, to name a few. The Supreme Court's upcoming decision concerning Roe v. Wade might enable Michigan to implement put the 1931 law back into effect, and the U.S. Senate is working towards new legislation on potential new gun control laws. These developments would give more responsibility to state governments across the country to regulate these controversial issues. If such changes occur, how would you vote at the state level regarding these issues? And we start with William Hindle.
Can you repeat the actual issues?
Yes.
A few of them.
Named a few: abortion, gun control, and gender equality.
Okay. As far as the states having the rights to make decisions, I think that I'm 100% in support of that. Where if Roe v. Wade is overturned, I think that would be the best decision made. Because again, I think the states have the responsibility to make those decisions. As far as Second Amendment, I'm 100% pro Second Amendment, and I will work to make Michigan a constitutional carry state. I think it's the right. We have the right, God-given right to defend ourselves, our property, and our lives. And then you said the gender equality.
Yes.
Kind of a broad question. Sorry. My feeling on that is I will protect the rights of everybody. You just deciding in regards to, regardless if what lifestyle you choose, I will fight for your constitutional rights as a Michigan citizen and also as a citizen of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Tristan Cole.
Yes, a very broad question. Thank you, Sarah and Nikki, for coming up with these. This is great. We need to go back to history and what's being taught to our students, and this is a 10th Amendment issue in large part. And if things are not explicitly left or laid out in the Constitution, it's left to the states. And we're unique in that fashion that I'm 100% pro-life, and we do have one of the best pro-life laws on the books right now. We may have a little snafu with the courts, but this is why you guys are here. This is why it's so important to be engaged, because it's states' rights. It's your elected representatives that carry your voice forward in Lansing. I'm pro-gun. I'm unapologetically pro-Second Amendment. My guns have never harmed anyone, and it's highly likely that your guns have never harmed anyone. I'm not going to stray from that, and I have a history of standing up for Second Amendment rights. We have a mental health crisis in Michigan right now and across this nation. I believe in individual liberties and personal freedoms, and that no one should be treated differently because they're different from you or I. No special treatment, but equality across the board. So I'll stand up for the Constitution, and I look forward to listening to you, each of you, as the next state senator in the 37th Senate District, as we deal with these issues that are turned back to us, following the Constitution, from the federal government.
Thank you. Jim Schmidt.
Would you give me the question again, please?
Yes, so there's a number of social issues at the top of Michiganders' minds right now, including, among other things, abortion, gun control, and gender equality. The Supreme Court's upcoming decision concerning Roe v. Wade might put Michigan's 1931 law back into effect, and the U.S. Senate is working towards new legislation on potential gun control laws. These developments would give more responsibility to state governments across the country to regulate these controversial issues. If these changes occur, how would you vote at the state level regarding these issues?
Well, just to give you an example, the U.S. Supreme Court in the last 10 years has overturned 13 of their previous decisions. So the social norms of society change. And as far as gun control, it is written that you are allowed to have a gun, and you, of course, have to have the license and all that kind of stuff if it's a pistol. But I believe that as far as state legislature, I think that if you read the 1963 Constitution, it says in there, in the preamble, that the laws of the state of Michigan are made by the people for the people. So it falls back on the state. And I honestly think that as far as right to life and that, I raised cattle for 45 years, and I delivered a lot of calves the first time. It was a pain. So I know about life, and I want, as a farmer, you want to protect life and continue it. So I believe that the right to life is something that belongs on the women's sector side of things. That's something they should individually decide. That has nothing to do with everybody in general. That's kind of a private thing with women. So whatever they think, that's what should be. It's that simple. And, okay. So, anyway, make a long story short, I'm going to wrap it up here. But be sure and vote on August the 2nd. Vote for whoever you want to vote, but be sure and vote. Adolf Hitler, when he ran for chancellor the first time in Germany, he ran on a popular vote. And you'll never believe this, but he only won by one vote. So think what one vote would have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy Bishop.
Strong Second Amendment supporter, no red flag laws. We have enough laws. Enough's enough. We passed in 25% of our counties sanctuary cities when it came to Second Amendment. Governor Whitmer stopped it with her lockdowns on March 20th. We did it in 45 days. As far as the abortion ban, it has an exception in there for the life of the mother. I'm against it. Rape and incest, what did the baby do to deserve death? Why should the baby die for the sins of the father? And as far as the 1931 ban goes, the life of the mother, it doesn't even exist today. Our medical technology almost has eliminated death by birth for the mother. Well, if she has cancer and needs chemo, do a C-section and give her chemo. She's been raped by her father. She can't live with herself. Get her mental treatment. Take it to term and put the baby up for adoption and never even hold it. These are state Senate issues that we need to speak the truth to the people regardless of our party. We need to do what's right by God and by our state and by our country. And as a state senator, that's exactly how I would deal with these state issues.
Thank you, John DeMoose.
Great, yeah. This is one where these are complicated issues where we need to be really sensitive to people. I got to tell you, when it comes to abortion, I'm actually really excited this could come back to the states because we do have great pro-life laws on the books. My goal is not to harm a woman. I have nothing but compassion for somebody who finds themselves pregnant after a rape or incest. But the bottom line is, I look at that unborn child and I see just that, a child. And I can't possibly condone the killing of that child. And nobody in this room, no matter whether you're pro-choice or not, if you saw this unborn child the way I see this unborn child, nobody would say you could condone that. So as far as coming back to the states' rights, I think that's a good one that should be decided at the state level. Now, something like the gun control issue, that's already been determined at the federal level in our Constitution. And this is the most clearly worded amendment in our entire Constitution. I don't know how there's so much confusion over this. And so the bottom line is even if I wanted to change it, I can't. I wouldn't, because this is a constitutional right. And the only way that those who want to change that need to change the Constitution, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. So,
Thank you. George Ranville.
Well, I'm also pro Second Amendment. I'm also endorsed by Right to Life and the Heartbeat Coalition. So let's talk about transgender a little bit. We are seeing a pandemic of new transgenderism. Where is that coming from? Where is that being taught? How are we learning about that? How are youngsters being influenced to go that direction? Those are all really serious questions. We need to have parental rights in the schools. We need to be able to understand those issues and have them brought to life. And we need to have school boards who are addressing the transgenderism issue and making it clear so that we can make a good decision. And I believe that we should make decisions to treat the mental health of individuals who think they need to become transgender without stigmatizing them. So there's a lot of issues there. We're not hearing about these transgender issues. We need clarity. And as a senator, we need to make sure that we make information available about that issue and that we oversee what's going on from our school board and our State Department of Education and protect some of these people, some of these youngsters who are in danger of harming themselves.
Thank you. Barb Conley.
Okay, I will take on the reproductive rights issue first. As a physician, you know, I am sworn to preserve life. On the other hand, I would not presume to put my beliefs on somebody else, and I have seen people have to make these decisions. They are very fraught. And so, as in the current Roe v. Wade, before the time of viability, I think this has to be an individual decision by the woman and her provider and or her family members. I do not think that the state should be legislating there. Regarding gun safety, I would call it gun safety rather than gun control. I can't help but think that we owe the victims of these mass shootings something. I do know that most people who keep guns, they keep them very safely. They never go into killing other people. But I do think we need to pass some common sense reforms that allows people to keep guns but keeps it out of the hands of mass murderers. And finally, on the issue of gender identity, I guess, that is an issue where we are still learning the biology, and I do think that we should treat everyone with human rights as an individual and not put artificial controls on them.
Thank you. The last question will start with Tristan Cole. What is the biggest challenge facing northern Michigan over the next few years, and what initiatives will you support to meet that challenge?
Well, number one, it's back to what is the role of state senator, and that's being your voice in the legislature. Your ready-made map. Knuckles North, 3 state senators out of 38. Knuckles North, including the Upper Peninsula, 12 representatives out of 110. I served for 6 years. It's about relationships to be able to convey the wants, needs, and desires of northern Michigan. And I was successful doing that with 35 public acts signed into law. It's incumbent upon you to have your voice heard and communicate with the legislature. Top priorities, infrastructure. Many people travel here to northern Michigan. It puts an undue burden upon us, and that burden is shouldered by the taxpayers here that are disproportionately charged because we drive further for essential services. We must continue to work on infrastructure. Access to materials, the inputs, is something that we can control and something that I worked on and I'm wishing to continue working on as the next state senator, and I have the proven history to do it with 13,000 votes to my name. TristanCole.com, or see me afterwards, and I look forward to earning your vote to be the next state senator in the 37th Senate District.
Thank you. Jim Schmidt.
The question again?
What's the biggest challenge facing northern Michigan over the next few years, and what
Well,
initiatives will you support to meet that challenge?
Like I said before, I'm against lobbying. We spend $37,500 per inmate, but we only spend about $9,000 for public education K through 12. Michigan has the highest percentage of people incarcerated per capita than any other state in the union. Like I said before, we farm out to Virginia and Georgia. We don't have enough facilities for them here. We have to work on the legal system that a lot of these people could be out doing things like forestation, planting trees, timbering, stuff like that in work camps, rather than sit there and play checkers and watch TV and chess and do nothing with their time and not be trained when they get out. That's why we have such a residual going back into prison, is because these people are not, when they get out, they're just like they were. All they do is, in prison, is learn how to be a bigger crook. And so that's what I think about the whole thing. I'm against lobbying. And folks, you've heard a lot of rhetoric tonight, but I will tell you one thing. I'm for real. And I am going to be the new state senator of the 37th district, and we'll have a Democratic senator. And you'll see things change. And I actually mean it. I'm just not handing you a line of malarkey. I actually mean it, and it will happen. And that's just the kind of person I am, because I ran a business for 45 years. I was a farmer for 44 years, and everything I did was nickels and dimes. I had to watch every penny, and that's what I plan to do as senator. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Randy Bishop.
Scott, I'm sorry.
What's the biggest challenge facing northern Michigan over the next few years, and what initiatives will you support to meet that challenge?
The biggest problem we have in northern Michigan is the chief of staff of Congressman Jack Bergman. Tony Liss and his campaign director, James Hogue, got involved in local politics here in northern Michigan, and you don't know about it. When I found out about it, it ticked me off. James Hogue put together and paid for the website for this guy, George Ranville, to run against Neil Frisky in the 107th. That's a fact. I have the screenshot of the website. When confronted about it, when George talked to Neil, and they told George, Tony Liss, Congressman Bergman's chief of staff, and his communication, that they got dirt on Neil Frisky, and George Ranville could win that seat, he said, no, thank you. That's the kind of man George Ranville is. He dropped out of the 107th, and he decided to run against this seat, because who's endorsed by Congressman Jack Bergman for this race? John DeMoose. He started throwing the dirt first at Tristan Cole. You need to know the truth, folks. And if you want to talk about it, I'll be standing right over that table. Come and ask me. I'll show you the screenshots. Thank you.
Thank you. John DeMoose.
Thanks. And I'm so proud to be endorsed by Jack Bergman. He's doing a great job in Washington. It's humbling to have his support.
John DeMoose's time, please.
Yeah. Anyways, the biggest problem facing northern Michigan, in my mind, over the next coming years is developing a year-round economy. Because we saw what happened after 2008, when all this great tourism dollars dried up, and our housing values went through the floor, and our businesses could barely stay afloat. And that day, I fear, is coming again, because we have an overheated economy right now, and inflation is out of control. Gas prices are out of control. I'm already hearing from businesses that this summer is not going to be nearly as good as last summer, and I suspect they're really worried about next year. That means a lot of actual real-world solving some actual real-world issues. It means developing our rural broadband, which I've been working really hard on, so that people can actually work remotely. It means working on this workforce housing issue so that people can live nearby. It means getting government out of the way of so many of our businesses, because they could be doing a lot better. It means driving manufacturing and doing what we can to bring more manufacturing jobs up here. There's a lot of people looking at our area for that, and it means more opportunities for our kids. And that's why I've been working so hard with our community colleges and other resources we have up here, so that our kids can stay closer to home here. That's our biggest problem.
Thank you. George Ranville.
The biggest problem facing northern Michigan today is energy. Businesses can't afford what's going on with our gas prices. This whole idea from the green side that says we can just raise and allow the price of gas to go up so we can pivot to electric cars is just incredibly stupid. How many people here have an electric car? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, 3 or 4, but none of the rest of us. An electric car, an electric pickup truck cannot tow that snowmobile trailer across the bridge. I live a block from that bridge. I watch trailer after trailer after trailer go by. These energy prices will kill our area. It'll wipe us out. That is the most important issue we're facing, and tied right to that is inflation. We're throwing money around left and right in the state. We have all this extra money. Where's this inflation coming from? All the money that's being spent worldwide by our federal government and then by our state government. Electricity prices. We cannot have just windmills and solar panels. In fact, the governor even agreed with it. All of a sudden, she saw the problem and tried to keep Palisades open. We have Palisades. We have nuclear technology that's fantastic. We don't use it. The state legislature, the state senate has to do everything they can to get energy under control and inflation, which is wiping out our businesses.
Thank you. Barb Conley.
Yes, I think the biggest challenge facing our area is the loss of our young people and our young families. We cannot really survive well just being a community of retirees. We really need to diversify our economy. We need to diversify our energy sources. We need to bring good paying jobs back up here to northern Michigan so that our families can live here again. And we need to protect our farms. We have an aging population. We have an aging workforce. The farmers are aging out. The medical people are aging out. We need to protect our way of life by keeping our young families here. And to do that, we need good paying year-round jobs.
Thank you. William Hindle.
Yes, the issue we have is pretty obvious right now, our gas prices. If we could suspend the gas tax, that would help in the short term. Long term, we sit on like over 60,000 oil wells and gas wells here in Michigan. And if we could put those full, use them fully to say full capacity, we can actually become a energy, oil independent state, and that in turn will spill over and help obviously lower our gas prices and help out our economy to recover. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the 37th Senate race for Candidate Forum. That concludes our forum as a whole. We thank you very much for coming this evening. We encourage you to reach out to the candidates to learn more, and a special thank you to North Central Michigan College, the Charlevoix Chamber, and the Petoskey Chamber. Thank you again for coming. Please be safe going home, and have a good evening.